All right, now that we've been through the basic KPIs, which are great and pretty useful, we definitely have to look at what events are. So first of all, well, they are basically everything that is not included in the basic KPI sets of each and every site-centric tool. So, well, if you retain that everything that is not a page view and that you want to track should require to put in place an event, then that's a nice definition. So we can name some like adding a product on a basket or reach a certain level of scroll, or maybe stay on a page for a certain duration, or click on a certain button. Well, that's just an example. It's basically everything you want to keep track of. Now let's look at the process it requires. So first of all, advertisers have to think carefully about what they would like to track in terms of KPIs. And as we saw in lesson 1 and 2, it really depends on their activities. Once this list is set up, well, there are really many chances that it encompasses loads of events, basically everything that is really specific to your site, like clicking on a certain button, filling in a certain form, and so on. And those events, they would require certain naming convention. They have 3 parameters. Category is the broadest one. Action is the, well, say, medium one, and label is supposed to be the more specific. So one category can encompasses several action, and action can encompasses several labels. Of course, just as for the URL parameters, the web marketers have to make sure this is consistent and sustainable over time. So this is not something that you kind of do in a rush and share with your digital tracking agency. No, it has to be really defined and adopted by everyone. So everyone in the marketing department should sit on the same table and really be on the same page regarding this naming convention. Otherwise, the data that will be collected will be totally probably unuseful for web marketers if they don't know exactly to what it corresponds. And we'll see an example of that in a minute. Okay, so this could seem a bit messy at first sight, but this is typically the kind of file we use when we talk about naming convention. So we first try to define in a really structured way what we want to track. So here, for example, sorry, that's in French, but we want to track clicks on the 2 menus that are located on the header of the home page. And well, there is a desktop and a mobile version, and for each of those versions, we would like to define, well, of course, it has to be shared between mobile and desktop, but we have to make sure about it, because sometimes some elements are showing on the desktop and not on a mobile. That's why it's important to differentiate those two. Well, anyway, let's look at the desktop version. So when one would click on menu category, the EC stands for event category. I want it to be catégorie de produits, which translates by product categories. I want the event action to be main menu, and the event label will be dynamically filled in with the name of the product that is being clicked. All right, and same goes for each and every element we want to track on the site. So yes, it's not really glamorous, that's true, but it's definitely something that has to be done both by the tracking agency and by the marketing department, because we just have to share the same naming convention. That's really, really important. Okay, so now that we know we've got a really consistent naming convention, what does it look like? Well, that's the site, and here I would like to ensure that every time I click on those menu, the data is really consistent. So I'm starting here, catégorie de produits. Okay, this is exactly what is expected. Then main menu, that's right, that's the main menu. And then here I'm having the exact label on which I'm clicking. So if I choose another one, okay, it's perfectly consistent. Now, what about the submenu? Great. Okay, and that's dynamic, meaning if for any reason this product name is changed, well, no worries, the event will put in the label this product name. So the broadest category, indeed, that's catégorie de produit. Then we have event action, which is which is a bit more detailed, and yes, that's the submenu as opposed to the main menu. And then the label, that's the most detailed parameter at our disposal in an event, and indeed it's showing what is expected. So we can go further, we could add additional data on top of that, but for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to keep it simple at this level. And yes, we mentioned earlier that this would require some coding, and as soon as we are tracking something that is really customized or tailor-made as you want for the specific purpose of a site, you definitely have to just place in your in your tag management tool, you just have to write your own tags. So that's it. That's the best example, the best concrete example I can think of. So that's the naming convention. This is an example of what I want to track, and I want it to be consistent over time, meaning if I change for any reason the name of those products, I still want my tag to work correctly. And that's the way it is coded. And at the end of the day, you are able to consult the results of your tracking. So the event category, so the broadest category was catégorie de produits. And if I click on it, then, so again, if I do this. Okay, so catégorie de produits is one of the main event category, and it encompasses clicks on the main menu and the submenu. So if I want to know what's most clicked on the main menu, I'll just have to drill down further. And this is just the data that has been collected, but presented in a nice way.